Good afternoon, everyone. Again, my name is Jay Mezer, and I'm going to take you through today kind of the new features in Cyclone Register 360, the BLK Edition. And so I will jump in here and we'll start to talk about a little bit about an agenda. And some of the new features that you're going to see in this software are Leica's made some updates to our standard views, how we view our point cloud from different angles inside the software. They've also made updates to scan world locations where they have a new icon. They're identified a little bit differently than they used to be for those of you who have been using the software for a while. They've added in a 3D limit box. So maybe those users who used to use the Cyclone software and have now gone over to Register 360, I imagine this is probably a command you've been looking for quite some time. We can now create an image. We'll take you through and talk a little bit about that. There's a smooth surface command, once again, a feature that has been brought forward from the previous versions. And then, of course, most recent features. And I know that seems kind of redundant, but when we were previously supposed to do this webinar was canceled due to some technical difficulties. And since then, Leica has put out just a couple of new features on top of what we were going to cover before. So let's get started. Let's jump in and talk about the standard views. And for those of you who are sitting there and thinking that, oh, he's going to just go through a PowerPoint, my intent is ultimately to do a demo here after I go through some of these PowerPoint slides. So if you're thinking about, I don't want to see a PowerPoint, I encourage you to stick around. So here we see in Register 360 the new standard views that have been added to the toolbar that appears along the left-hand side. Okay. Again, this is just a flyout window that allows us to go ahead and change from a top view, a bottom view, right side view, front view, and back view. Our scan worlds have been given a new icon. What the previous icon, what I referred to as kind of a cheese wedge, is gone and been replaced with either a red or, in this case, it is selected, so a blue dot to show that it is selected. We also have the addition of a 3D limit box. This gives us the ability to go in and use the limit box to only view certain areas. We'll talk about how we can use that limit box not only here in Register 360, but we'll talk about how we can take that limit box and use it in other softwares. We're also going to jump in and take a look at the Ortho image creation tool and what that's all about and how we can use that to provide data to people who maybe don't have Leica software or aren't familiar with point cloud data at all, but want to see some of the imagery that we collect. We'll take a look at the smooth surface command. Once again, this is a command that's been brought forward from the previous Cyclone software. We'll talk a little bit about how it works, what it does, and what its use is. And then we're going to jump in and we're going to talk about the newest features available here in Register 360, right? We have faster import of BLK data. When paired with Publisher Pro, we can bring in model data to the JetStream viewer. And we'll take a look at where that data might come from and how to get it in there. So now I'm going to jump over and I'm going to demonstrate some of these features, and then we'll let you guys ask some questions. All right. So again, before I go jumping in and really hammering on the features and things like that, I'm going to stop here for a moment at the startup screen. And I want everybody to take note. If you're here, maybe you are using Register 360 for another application. Maybe you have a different scanner and you're using it for that. I just want to point out that this is the BLK Edition. You'll note in the upper left corner of my screen, we have a parentheses around BLK Edition. Okay, and there is a big difference between the different softwares. So I'm going to jump into my point cloud here, and we'll kind of walk you through where some of these new features are. I'm going to go ahead and select my bundle cloud. And as I select my bundle, view this in a 3D mode. So we can see that we have our 3D point cloud, and of course our toolbar is here along the left-hand side. Now, it used to be that if we just simply click this, it would go ahead and take us to a top view. Now, when we click this button, it allows us to go ahead and select which view we would like to look at our point cloud from. And of course, I selected left, and then we can select right. And of course, this is all based around how your coordinate system is set in Register 360. Okay? And if you'll notice the parentheses T as I click that button, that is for a shortcut. So I'm able to come in and select T on my keyboard, and it goes ahead and gives me the top view of my point cloud. Now, one of the other features, as I stated earlier, is just simply the change in these icons. Okay, again, we used to see them as kind of a yellow triangle with a black dot in the center of them, and as I said earlier, it reminded me of a cheese wedge. We now have just red dots showing each scan location, and of course, as you can see, when we select them, they turn to a blue dot. If we select the whole bundle, they all turn blue, and the whole bundle is now selected. Okay. So one of our other features, whoops, my mistake. One of our other features is our ability to come in and create a 3D limit box. Now, previously in Register 360, and if I wanted to limit the amount of data, it was kind of difficult for me to be able to do that. But now with the limit box, whether it's me wanting to clean the data up in Register 360 or simply just be able to isolate some of that data, I can come in and create my 3D limit box. So I can select the limit box, and we kind of see this big red box appear. Well, if we had looked at that kind of in a 3D format, we can see that that box has several sides, and we can click and drag each side simply by holding down the left mouse button, and you'll notice that that side is a brighter red than the rest of the box. Now, I can grab any side that's visible to me, but I often will struggle trying to select any of the other sides. So when I first saw this command, I kind of scoffed at it and said, well, geez, now I got to try and rotate around. And as you can see, that rotation, I'm just using my left mouse button, which, by the way, holds for tips and tricks here in a minute. That left mouse button doesn't really give me the ability to spin around easily. So what I'm going to do is I want to be able to select this left-hand side of the box here. I'm going to hold down the Shift key and pull in that side. I can release the Shift key at any time, and then I can hover over the other side, hold down the Shift key, and I can pull in the other side. And I can do that even to the far back side of this box. Now, one of the things that people will often ask for, I guess is the way I'll put that, is, well, what if I want to rotate around and see what's going on the other side? Well, if you hold down the Control key on your keyboard, it will allow you to do a 3D orbit. And sometimes they'll look at it and they'll say, well, I really would like to be able to zoom in on this, and I'd like to be able to manage the limit box and see exactly what is appearing and or disappearing. So again, I can pull in here, and you can see if I zoom in, I can see that the road is gone, and we can really get in here pretty deep. Now, sometimes when we scan, the limit box is really kind of skewed differently, or skewed so it's not maybe parallel to, in this case, the front of this house or the roadway. And you want to just be able to rotate the limit box without actually going in and changing your coordinate system. So what we can do is, if I hold down the Alt key and hover over one of the legs here, and I'm going to refer to it as a leg, of the box, I can click and hold the left mouse button on my mouse and be able to rotate the box. Now, we want to be careful with this because it also works on the kind of bottom sides of the box. Bear with me a sec. So as I kind of come in here and hover over that, I can tilt this 3D limit box in different directions to be able to limit whatever it is I'm trying to view. And so as I go through and start pulling in the sides of this box, I can, again, start to remove maybe some of the trees, things like that. One of the things you'll often find is that, what do I do with the limit box? Now that I've got it, now that I've set it up maybe the way that I'm hoping to, what do I do to get rid of it? Well, we can see up here on the toolbar, I can grab a Show Hide Limit Box. So now my limit box is still active, but it's not visible, leaving me to zoom in and zoom out on my point cloud. I can turn the limit box back on and again go back to editing it. Now notice the color of the limit box because it's going to change here in just a little bit. The other option for me here is to create a quick limit box. So if I zoom in on an area, I can say create a quick limit box, and I can pick in a location, and the software will just go ahead and create a box around what it thinks you want to see. And if it's not exactly what you want to see, we can edit the limit box. So I have my limit box and I'm ready to go. This is what I'm happy with. Well, I want to look at some other things within my point cloud. So now I can very easily make the limit box go away, but I can't really look at all the other data. And so, of course, we're going to want to look at different data. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come way over here and I'm going to click the limit box manager where I can come in and give my limit box a name. Whoops, I'm going to hit save here, my mistake. And I'm going to hit enter. So now I have a name here and I can notice the color has changed. The color is now this yellow and I can turn it so it's no longer active, so it's no longer visible, or I can make it active and not visible, or any variation of those options. Now, one of the last things here, I'm going to turn this off, and I'm going to click under export. This allows me to include the limit box with an export of, let's say, my LGS or my JetStream data. We'll talk more about those here in a couple of minutes. Okay? So one of the other commands that I want to take a look at here is our ability to create an ortho image. So when I come in and I come across the top of the toolbar, the very last button allows me to create an ortho image. And this command's kind of neat because it allows me to simply draw a reference line. So what I really want to do is I want to set this up so my reference line is going to run perpendicular to whatever it is I'm going to be able to look at, or I want to look at, I should say. So when I say draw reference line, I'm simply going to click and hold the left mouse button until I get the arrow over the center of whatever it is I'm looking at. And so you'll notice it kind of snapped in there. If I try to create this crooked, it won't let me, right? It's going to be perpendicular to whatever object. So straight up and down, or straight east and west, or left and right. And I'm going to set a thickness. Now the thickness is going to determine how far along this line we're going to be able to look. So I've got it set at 6 meters. That's going to be fine for me. And I want to include a scale bar. So I'm going to go ahead and say create a section file, and then it will give me a preview. It's going to take a moment. There we go. And we can see that my image came out a little crooked simply because I must have the point cloud rotated. If I'm happy with that, I go ahead and I say accept. If I'm not, I can go ahead and close out, and we can take a look and say that we want to go from one angle or another, and maybe I'll go straight from the top and redo it, right? So I would just do that over again. Now, I've already got one saved, so what I'll do is I'll go ahead and open that one for you. And there we go. And we can see that the image is then created with a bar scale, right? And I can send this, it's just a PNG file. I can send this via email so somebody can actually see what I'm doing with this point cloud data. They don't have to have any specialized Leica software or any other point cloud data software. All right. So one of the other items I might like to take a look at is not only creating a limit box and being able to manage it, right? I'm going to pare this down a little bit and try to get just the data that I want. Bring this in so I get close to the road, and I'll take this side in and get it close to the road. Great. And I'm going to manage this and say, save it. All this is, my limit box is just going to be road. And of course, I'll turn off its visibility. So now when I look at the data, we can see that I've got some trees in here. And if we look closely, we can see that possibly somebody maybe either drove or walked down the roadway as the scan was being taken. So I really want to start to kind of create a surface that allows me to get rid of some of that extra data, maybe even the car here, again, the trees. So I'm going to use the smooth surface command. And when I click on the smooth surface command, you'll notice that all my points turn gray and I don't see the color anymore. I'm going to use my pick tool to come over and simply double click on the point cloud, and it's going to start looking at the data. And as it looks at the data, it's going to determine what fits along where I selected and maybe what does not create a smooth surface. So we can see that it's selected some data here, and you know, if I'm not happy with it, which I'm not happy with it, it looks like maybe I selected the wrong point, I can just cancel. All right, so I'm going to zoom in a little bit better, and now I'll go ahead and use my find smooth surface, and I'm going to double click on the roadway. There we go. And so now we see that everything that's fitting within the criteria of creating a smooth surface is staying gray. Everything that's not is turned red. So if I'm happy with what it selected, and I am in this case, I can say that I want to hide all those marked points. Those red points are considered marked. And you can see that it cleaned up my data pretty well. I got maybe a couple of holes here, but again, those didn't create a smooth surface, so that's okay. I'll go ahead and say that I want to delete all the marked points. Now, as this goes ahead and deletes, I'm just going to go ahead and throw out there that when the points are cleaned or I delete all marked points. Yes, they are in fact gone from the point cloud. Okay? So when they're gone, they're technically deleted. However, if you want to get them back, we can get any of those points back by finishing out and letting our smooth surface complete, and we can select any one of our scans and restore deleted points. Now, if you want to do them all at the same time, sometimes you can go ahead and select all of them holding down Shift and restore deleted points. Okay? So I'm going to let this finish, and then we're going to talk a little bit about being able to get other data and export other data. Okay? So that is complete, and of course, if I wish, I can go ahead and turn on the rest of my limit box, and I'll turn that back off. So if you're out there and maybe you've never used this software before, or maybe you're looking into using it and wondering, well, geez, I want to use this software, but most of my clients or other people that we work with, they all use a competitor software or like Recap or something like that. That's okay, because by default, Register 360 will allow you to export out. Oh, it just shut down on me. Great. There we go. As soon as this comes back up, I'll show you what I mean.
Jay?
Yes.
Would it be okay if I asked a couple of questions while it's loading? Oh, and there it is.
Sure. Go ahead.
One of the questions that came in, is there an undo or deleted points?
Well, that's what I was saying here is there's no undo button, but we can right mouse click on a scan and say restore deleted points. So even though there's no undo, you can still get your points back. Okay? So since that closed down on me, and I'm going to just come over and I'm going to show, by default, if you own a license of Register 360 and you do have those clients or other folks that want to be able to use this point cloud data, we can export to an RCP if you need that. And by default, Register 360 BLK Edition will only allow the RCP. We're not able to do the LGS file. As you can see, it's grayed out here. So I can't export to a LGS without a Publisher or Publisher Pro license. And that really leads me into one of the other features that has been added most recently is in combination with the Publisher Pro license, that gives us more power to create a more, to visualize our data a little bit better, because we're able to export to LGS with the Publisher Pro. We're also then able to use something called JetStream Viewer to view that file. Now, most of you are probably familiar with JetStream Viewer. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to open a file in JetStream Viewer here. Oh, I opened the wrong one. So bear with me as this opens. All right, so let me get this new one. All right, great. So this file was just created the other day with the new Publisher Pro license. And if you've ever used JetStream Viewer before, you'll notice that the difference in the new version also shows us the red scan locations. And of course, the LGS allows us to view this in 3D. Now, for those of you who have never used JetStream Viewer, using an LGS or JetStream data, we can open a point cloud with this free viewer. You can download this for free off of Leica's website. It does not cost to use it. It only costs to be able to create the files. So I'm able to go into a 3D mode and look at my data. Okay, once again, doesn't matter that if I don't have a license, but I can double click and I can go in and look at the pictures. Okay, I can always go back to the 3D mode if I wish. And of course, this gives me the ability to go ahead and measure along a building or along the point cloud. So that's a great feature, but this is not new. This has been around for a while. One of the new things that was added is if you have model data, and in this case, I have an IFC file. That IFC file can now be brought in to JetStream Viewer. So I can simply come in and I have Windows Explorer up here on another monitor, which I'll just bring it over like this, and I'll show you the IFC file that I have. I can drag and drop, and it starts to import that model data. Now, it will give me an option here on whether I want to place it or use its model coordinates. Now, it just so happens that the model data assigned to this model has the elevations that are off a little bit. So I'm going to use the model coordinates, and I'm going to show you. So now you can see down below is my model data. But notice the toolbar that I'm provided here. I can now come in and I can use my model data to start moving this around. Well, let me click to my model here. Bear with me. All right, where did it go? Try that one more time. All right, and won't let me edit for some reason. Okay, it's not letting me edit for some reason. My apologies. I'll go ahead and pick a few questions and see if I can't get that to fix while we answer some questions.
Okay. Does it export a clean RCP unlike register? Or
Does
maybe that
it
was just a
export?
statement. Sorry, maybe. It does export a clean RCP, unlike register.
We do have the option to export the clean data as well.
So earlier on, when you just started the presentation, one of the questions was, are all of these point clouds collected from the BLK 360?
This particular one we're looking at now was not collected using a BLK 360. There we go.
Are you carrying on and want to ask one more? One more, or you?
You can ask one more. I'm just
okay.
Showing as you're doing that.
Okay,
put this in
which
place.
export format works best in CAD and which works best in Revit?
Great question. So to be honest, if we're going to export in an LGS format, if we have Publisher or Publisher Pro, it's my opinion that the LGS is the better format because we can use that with Leica's CloudWorks product. And CloudWorks Ultimate would provide us a license for AutoCAD and Revit. So we could open the point cloud in either or software.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. So you can see here, I'm able to move my model around and compare it to my point cloud. So if this were my design model and I wanted to see how it fits against the actual built data, I can do that. If I want to move it all over, I can kind of move the model wherever I want. Of course, mine was just off elevation-wise, so I would have just played with it in the elevation. So these are all features that are newer. Some of them are maybe a couple of months, but this one is brand new as of, I believe, 2 weeks ago. So we can go ahead and ask more questions if they've got them.
All right. We are getting through most of these. One of the questions was, where can we access the recording after? Everybody who's attended today will be getting a copy of the recording in an email. So if you, are we doing Q&A now? Is this it?
Sure, yes.
Okay, so I'm just gonna leave that for the recording. Okay. All right, so if you'd like to go ahead and type a question into the chat window, and I will read them to Jay as they come through.
Okay.
Okay. What software creates an IFC geometry?
IFC can be created through a couple of different softwares, but I know quite often we can get Revit to do it. There are other meshing softwares that can do it. It's just an export rather than a save.
Okay. Can the smooth surface be exported to use in Revit? What was the use of the smooth surface?
To clean up the point cloud data. So if we wanted to only deal with maybe, let's say in my case, it was the roadway. If I only wanted to create the roadway and maybe take it to something like Civil 3D and create a surface in Civil 3D from that, I would not want all of those trees. I would not want all of the car or the mailbox or anything like that. Same would go for flat floor in a building. If you only wanted to worry about the floor and maybe you're going to take it into CloudWorks for Revit, you could do a floor flatness on that point cloud.
Okay. Is JetStream Viewer intended to replace TrueView going forward?
It's not its current intent. I don't know where Leica plans to take TrueView or JetStream Viewer for that matter. That'd be more a question for the folks at Leica. I apologize, I can't answer that. I don't know what their intents are.
Okay. Is it true that you can export a limit box to RCP?
I don't know that I've ever tried that, so I'm gonna say I'll have to get back to you on that.
Okay. Can JetStreams reference in Navisworks NWD files?
The viewer itself, I don't believe so. I believe it's just IFC and OBJ.
Okay. Can the limit box be aligned to a surface exactly?
No, you can't align it to, I'm assuming by aligning it to a surface, you mean like the ground that I had, or maybe even if you're talking about a wall, then you can get it close, but it is by eye. There's no align to wall tool, if that's what you're looking for.
Okay.
I will say though, if I can, that if you're looking for something like that, you might take it into CloudWorks instead.
Sorry, I'm just going through these.
No, you're fine.
Okay, so where can we get a demo? We're currently using Recap, and our director is curious about the difference versus Recap. So where would I direct this client? Just to the, do you have, I guess you know what I can do?
You can send them right to me, and then I'll find who their sales rep is, and I'll have their sales rep give them a call.
Okay, I can do that too. Hang on just one second. Bear with me, everybody. I'm just going to post. Okay. Recap lets you group points into layers. Is that an option in Cyclone?
No, it won't put it into layers.
Would you, okay, oops, I just bounced. Would you be able to tell me which scanner is used to produce those point clouds?
The one of the small house is a BLK 360, and the one of the larger building that I brought the model into JetStream was a P40.
Okay.
Both Leica machines, by the way.
The LGS export into Revit does allow you to see full color pictures inside Revit. That's a question, I guess. The LGS export into Revit. It does. Okay.
Yes, you can see the full pictures in Revit. It's actually, excuse me, a very nice tool that you can select a location, and it will allow you to pick from which scan that location came from.
Okay, I've got a lot of people requesting demos. That's good, Jay. That means you did your job. Interest. That's awesome. Can you set a project base point in Cyclone?
So in Register 360, the BLK Edition, you can assign a coordinate system to your point cloud if you have GPS survey points and you used targets while scanning. If you're talking about Cyclone, the original Cyclone, yes, we can do that as well.
Okay. Just making sure that I've got all of these. Okay, so do you have more video demos available to show more of the basics? Do we, Jay? Like, I mean, if we did, it would be at our resource center, right?
Yeah, it would.
Okay. So just hang on, guys. We have this awesome resource center on our website that if I can just maybe send a link to you guys. So on our website, if you go to resources, for those of you who want to do it later, what would I look up under? Would it be for scanning? Jay?
Yeah, I don't know that we have a ton up there right now.
Okay.
For scanning anyway, for everything else we do.
All right. That would probably be the best place for it. Anything that we do, and the video will be in our resource center on our website. All of our information, whatever we do have that is current, is absolutely going to be on the resource center. Okay, are these features in Register 360 not just in the BLK edition?
They are in Register 360 as well, yes.
Okay, you mentioned at the beginning updates with version 2020.1. Did you cover all of them? Did we get to all of them?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. I think I've gotten to everything else. Jason has a comment here, just said that there's lots of videos on YouTube for Leica and Register 360. Okay. So we have covered all of the questions here. Plus, I'm going to also take these questions back with me. Katana is usually the marketing manager who is with you on these calls, and she just double booked herself today. So she's going to want to go through all of these and make sure that, you know, she's got all the answers. So the last one that just came in, Jay, before I was going to let you go here, what is the difference between the Register and the BLK versions?
Great question. So the difference is with the BLK edition, we can only bring in data from BLK devices, meaning the BLK 360, the BLK to go. We cannot bring in data from, let's say, an RTC 360 or a P-series scanner or even any other scanner. So that's one of the biggest differences, as well as the BLK edition allows the export to RCP directly, whereas the regular edition does not allow to RCP unless we have a publisher license.
Okay, that's good. Okay, so with that, thank you so much, Jay. If anybody else is looking for more information or current podcasts, all of that information is going to be on our website. If you have not opted in to receive emails, you can go there to see what is coming up next. Again, I'm going to take these questions away with me. I'll have Jay look over them as well. And For those of you, I did leave Jay's email address in there. I can read it out to you if you don't see it. It's jmeszar@rand.com. And you know, if you know your sales rep, they're going to be talking to you about pricing. And also, if you know your sales rep, they can also help set up demos for you. That's where Jay would go anyway. He would follow your sales rep. So hopefully you'll know who that is. Okay, so with that, again, thanks, Jay, and thank you so much, everybody, for joining us today. Stay well and stay safe. Have a good day, everyone. Thanks, Jay.
Have a good day, everyone. Absolutely.